Welcome to the Awaken on Purpose podcast, where each week I share insight, inspiration, and advice for quantum leaping into new levels of expansion in your purpose and mission as a visionary leader and way shower. You'll also hear from other new paradigm leaders who share their inspirational stories and wisdom. If you're passionate about embodying your highest destiny and leading others through this great awakening into the next golden age, this show is for you. Everyone, I am super excited to be here today with Ashley Holmes as a guest, and she is the CEO and founder of Holistic Fertility Coach Inc., an international best-selling author. She helps women struggling with infertility to conceive with ease using holistic practices. She uses energy medicine to work with women's cycles to bring them back into balance and alignment. Her private program is centered on creating the most optimal egg quality for conception. Welcome, Ashley. I'm happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're going to have a great conversation. The work that you do, it's so needed, and I'm curious, and I know the listeners are as well. What inspired you to forge this path?
I really feel like my journey chose me, and that women are struggling with this, and it's so prevalent in society, and really my own struggles. I eventually had twins using a fertility clinic many years ago. But also on the flip side, when I introduced holistic practices into my life, I was able to conceive naturally in a matter of months. So there's so much wisdom and power available to us that, I wasn't aware of, and that I also wasn't tapping into or using or implementing in my life.
Yeah. Wow, what you just said there could be a whole lot of rabbit holes we could go down. Let's talk about how you work with your clients first. You speak about using energy practices. Tell us more about what that process entails, and also who your ideal client is.
So my program is one-to-one. It always will be one-to-one, because I feel like everyone is unique. Your journey is unique. Everything you've experienced is unique, and so is your cycle. So it's really providing you with the energy medicine that you need throughout your cycle to help you come back into balance and alignment. So the kinds of practices I use are yoga and Reiki and meditation and chakra balancing and journaling, and really more sort of internal practices, as well as Ayurveda, so that you're really nourishing yourself in the best and optimal way for you, so that you have your best chances of conceiving.
Mm-hmm. What would be, let's talk. I have so many questions going through my mind right now that I want to ask you. Let's start with this one. The first one is, you had mentioned in your own journey, having tried to conceive without success, and then switching gears essentially to take more of a holistic approach, and how quickly that worked for you. What would you say is the main difference between, because I know your journey is personal, right? But this could certainly apply or provide some insights to some other women who are looking to conceive as well. What do you think the main differentiator was?
For me personally, using a fertility clinic meant that I was putting things into my body that I wasn't used to, I wasn't accustomed to. Therefore, it felt like an out-of-body experience to me. I feel like myself, all these hormones, all of these things, that I had never experienced before, that I didn't feel equipped to handle or deal with as best as I could, versus really embodying and embracing and it becoming an internal practice and really moving out of fight or flight mode and being so stressed into more of a rest and digest mode, and finding and initiating that relaxation response within me was really so crucial to me feeling more better in my body, and me being able to tune in and listen to my body and begin to give my body what it needed, and not looking externally so much but internally. And yes, I had teachers and guides and people training me, but it really was very awakening to realize all of these things that I do have control over, all of these things that I can do for myself to help myself. And they're not just things I did to conceive, they're still things that I do and practice every day.
Mm-hmm. Do you believe that the Western medicine approach to, fertility, that it's effective for certain people?
I feel that it is very rushed, very forced, very not in alignment necessarily with where you're at, which is sometimes why it isn't working, right?
Yeah.
I leaving the fertility clinic being very defeated when they're like, well, it should have worked by now, we're on to this next. And I was like, but I hadn't even gotten used to what we were trying. And it was like, okay, scrap that, we're moving on.
Yeah. And what you're saying, I want to say it makes so much sense, but it just resonates so much with all of what you're saying, whether it's specific to this topic that we're talking about today, or just creating in general doesn't come from a place of force.
No, it really doesn't. And it's really, I had to learn to trust my body again, because that relationship with myself really was broken during that process, because I didn't trust my body because it wasn't responding in the way that I wanted it to. And, trying to make things happen isn't, and putting all this pressure and stress on yourself doesn't make things happen.
So true. And that's the case with anything, right? With any scenario. How has your relationship, because everything has its own consciousness, how has your relationship with the consciousness of your body changed from this experience?
From a place of disconnection, from feeling lost, from feeling hopeless and powerless, to really stepping into my power and empowering myself. Because instead of giving my power away and being like, well, if you can't help me, then no one can help me. That's not the case. Taking ownership and responsibility of your life and really co-creating the life that you want. It's not outside of yourself, and really being and knowing that I'm divinely guided and supported in all that I do, and I can handle anything that comes my way. So really feeling anchored and grounded in who I am. And that's sort of why I birthed my business as well, was, I've moved through that, and I still feel like there is not enough or adequate support provided for people that are struggling with infertility.
Have you ever worked with a client or had a scenario come forward where even with a holistic approach, they're not receiving a response?
I think that it is always going to be a step that they need to be ready to take, and they need to be ready to embark on, and they need to be able to surrender that there is no control.
Yes.
Because we want to control, we want to know that it's going to work, but you are never going to know 100% what is going to work. But you can do everything within your power to move yourself in the direction that things will be in alignment and flow, and release all those sort of blockages that are within us that we carry.
Such a well just articulated, beautifully said answer to that. Thank you so much. I mean, I asked the question because it's a very real question, right? And I think what you said about surrender is such a big part of that. Um, that's part of the mystery of our path here is, putting forth our desires out into the universe and then letting go of attachment to the ultimate outcome of whatever that is, while at the same time following our own inner guidance.
Absolutely. I think it's very hard to sort of let go and just surrender. And that's truly what helped me was these yoga practices that were internal, like yin yoga and restorative yoga, and things that I thought didn't have value to me because they weren't active or, providing benefit. I didn't realize what that would do for me and how it would help to shift and bring me back mind, body, spirit, and feel whole and complete as I am. I wasn't broken, but I felt like it. So it was really just coming full circle.
Well, I feel that what you mentioned about feeling broken is part of the societal conditioning and program that so many of us experience, especially as women, where we're defined more by our labels versus the essence of who we are. Like, as a mom, as example, you're less than if you can't have children, or you choose not to. And it's whether you do or you don't, it doesn't make you any less of this amazing light that you are.
Definitely. And it's sort of shifting away from that because for me, I was in my 20s when I was struggling to conceive. So I thought this is just going to happen, and we sort of tick the boxes, finish high school and go to college and get married. And then you have kids and wait, everything isn't lining up in the order that you think it is going to, or that it's meant to, and it's really being okay with what is happening in your life in the present moment and not resisting it. And I had so much resistance the first time around because I didn't want to be struggling to conceive. I didn't want to be experiencing these emotions and feelings and obstacles that I was bumping up against. I just wanted the end result. And that led to years of struggle and strife versus, also never having an explanation from the doctors because I had unexplained infertility. And I truly feel like I found my own obstacles and what can't be detected by medical equipment, right? Your energy, everything is energy. And once I began to work with energy and understand energy more, and it was like, this all makes sense now.
Yeah. What would you say because every experience we have serves a purpose on our path, right? So what would you say was the most significant soul lesson that you received from all of that?
That I truly was unaware and unconscious of what I was creating unknowingly in my life. And once I became aware of it, I was like, wow, I really need to shift my way of being, my state of thinking, not realizing what was in my subconscious mind and beginning to rewire those negative loops and negative cycles that were repeating in my life, and just choosing a different way that serves me better and the way I want to live and the way, I want to teach my children to live as well.
Absolutely. I'd love to get your thoughts on this because I know for my own personal journey, and I'm including my little disclaimer here that I'm not a medical doctor, blah, 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 listen to the information we're giving you and do with it what you will with your free will. But I think there is, I'm not speaking to fertility or infertility specifically, but just generally speaking, there can be a time and place for Western medicine, but that, in my opinion, it is not the first go-to. And I found on my personal journey that when I do go to a doctor or choose to go to a doctor for some reason, doing kind of my own research and kind of tuning into the consciousness of the doctor, whoever the person is that I'm working with, I think makes a big difference in terms of, you know, what information and advice they're going to give you, because despite being an expert in whatever the person's field is, I feel like if they're completely enmeshed in a 3D consciousness, that they're not necessarily going to give you all of the advice that is going to be the highest and best for you. What do you think about that?
I think that compared to, because I wasn't born and raised with Eastern medicine, but as soon as I started to embody and embrace this, you know, they look at the whole person.
Yeah, exactly.
If you were to see an Ayurvedic doctor, they're looking at all of you, you know, they're looking, it's none of this done through a screen either. It's, you know, I want to see you and feel your energy and look at all of you and all the symptoms and actually get to the root cause of why this is showing up in your life, because everything has a root cause, and it's really, you know, getting to the root, because otherwise it's just a surface level sort of prescription that isn't actually fixing the root of the problem.
So true. And everything has meaning, right? Many of our ailments or diseases, I say dis-ease, you know,
Yes.
really is connected to our other bodies, you know, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. It's all interconnected.
It is all interconnected. And once I began to experience that and realize I'm not just my physical body, and to work with all of myself, you know, I don't need to go to a doctor anymore, you know, very few and far between. And I like to keep it that way. You know, I rejuvenate, replenish my energy, myself, for myself with the wisdom that I have gained, so that I'm not too far out of balance. And when something starts to show up, it's like, okay, I need to pay attention to this so this doesn't turn into something else.
Absolutely. What advice, I mean, let's just say, what would be the top 3 steps or tips that you would give someone who is looking to conceive, to move forward in that process?
First and foremost would be to embrace all of your emotions as you are going through them throughout the month, instead of denying them and not wanting to feel them or experiencing them, because just because you're avoiding them doesn't mean they're not still present. They are then energetically landing in your body. So really not being afraid of them and not giving your power away to them. You know, it's okay to feel sad or to cry or any of these things, and allow them to be processed and move through you, instead of resisting them, but then still holding on to them. So that would be the first thing. And the second thing would be to alleviate as much stress as humanly possible in your life, because when you're releasing stress hormones into your body, it's pulling away from your ability to conceive, because you're thinking that you're under threat when you're stressed. So yes, it's stressful, and that's why I've designed my program to work with the stress of it, so that you can move through it, instead of being like, I'm so stressed out, but I'm doing everything the doctor tells me, which was me the first time around, and being like, why isn't this working? I'm doing everything the doctor's telling me, and this isn't working. And lastly would be to really find support, because it can be an isolating and lonely journey.
Mhm.
And if you're just holding on to it and you're not finding the support that you need, then you're not getting the help that you need that could help shift everything and move you towards your goal faster. If it's taking years to conceive one or whatever the circumstances are, looking at the big picture of how many kids do you want to have and what do you want your life to look like? And do you want to be spending all this time and energy and effort, that can take years? Or do you want to feel good in the process and really sort of take ownership of how you want to feel and how you want your life to look?
Thank you so much for that. Ashley, in closing, is there anything else that you're feeling guided to bring forward?
I think that truly the resources are available for you. And it doesn't matter if you don't know how all of these things work. It's, being open to see. And I have many ways that you can work with me so that you can see if this is in alignment with you, so that you can experience it for yourself, because it is less tangible, right? We want the proof, but the proof is really in the doing and embodying it and embracing it, and then noticing those shifts and changes and noticing, perhaps the brain fog clearing and the digestive issues easing and your cycles not being so painful and all of these things that you can work on and just begin to notice. And you didn't get to where you are in one day, and sort of giving yourself that time and space. My program is created for 4 months, so you really focus on you for that time, so it can work in conjunction with IVF or anything else that you may be embarking on, so that you're really giving yourself the optimal state of health possible and looking after your mind, body, spirit alongside of it.
Absolutely. Thank you. And for those who are feeling called to reach out to you, where is the best place for them to go?
The best place to find me and to find support is on Facebook. I have a holistic fertility coach Facebook group that you're more than welcome to join. And I know that even if you aren't struggling with this, someone in your life is, because it is that prevalent. So guide them, direct them, and let them know that there are ways to process all of this and to move through it that serve you and honor you alongside of it.
Absolutely. Ashley, thank you so much for coming on to the show today. It's been such a joy to connect with you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor to be here with you, Jennifer.
Thank you for listening to the Awaken on Purpose podcast. Please visit me and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or at awakenonpurpose.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about how you can embody new levels of expansion in your purpose and mission as a visionary leader and way shower, visit me at jenniferspore.com.